Welcome back to the Garage Owners Network, where we share practical strategies to help UK independent garage owners not just survive, but thrive. My mission is to help garage owners become more successful in business. How I do that is I go live most weeks on one of the 5 pillars of business as I see it. And this week we're in the financial pillar and we're considering the subject of profit optimization. Now, before you switch off and think, oh, that sounds like accountant talk, let me stop you right there. Profit is the energy of your business. You can store it, waste it, or expend it doing something useful. And think of your business like an engine. To run, a petrol engine needs 3 things: compression, fuel, and a spark. Take one away and the engine will misfire. Your business is the same. The 3 priorities are cash flow, profit, and order. Cash flow is the fuel. It keeps the fire burning. Without it, the engine simply stops. Profit is the spark. It gives the business energy to carry on. And order is compression. It's what brings everything together and makes it work. You've got to tackle them in that order. Cash flow first, profit second, order third. But here's the catch. You also need all 3 at the same time if you want lasting success. Miss one and the engine will stall. Get them working together and you've got a machine that can power you into the future. So let's strip it down using a simple framework I use, which I call the Atomic Success MBA. More, better, before, additional. It's about doing things in the right order. It's about putting first things first. And in this case, it's about putting profit first, which is the second level on the hierarchy. According to the Office for National Statistics, the average net profit for a private non-financial corporations in the UK was 8.8% in 2024. And for micro businesses, and that's most independent garages, 1 to 9 staff and less than 1 million in turnover, that average is estimated to be just 3 to 4%. So it's really important to look at ways to optimize profit in your garage because the margins look pretty slim. And that's not just for garages. That's for all non-financial corporations within the UK. To think that the net profit is just 8.8% last year, and for micro businesses, it's just 3.4%. It's never been more important to look at ways of optimizing profit. So we're going to look at 3 ways, and let's start with the easy one. Doing more. That usually means selling more or charging more. And the truth is, most garage owners start because it's the fastest way to increase turnover and increase cash flow, which normally improves profit. You can put your prices up by £5 an hour, or you can book an extra 2 MOTs a day, and the cash is in the till straight away. But here's the catch. There's always a constraint. There are only so many hours. There are only so many ramps in your workshop. There are only so many MOT slots. But doing more usually costs more. Increased variable costs, or you need to add more value to justify the increased labor rate. They're just 2 examples. So yes, doing more is essential, but it's only the first step. However, most garages don't even take it. Or if they do, they reach the first constraint and then they stop there. The worst bit about only doing more, if you are making a loss, doing more will probably result in a bigger loss. You need to be doing something different. So the next idea is, instead of doing more, what about doing something better? And this is where most garage owners hesitate, because it means reflection. It means looking in the mirror. Better is about reducing waste, cutting costs, and improving margins. So, for example, do you know exactly what your labor recovery rate is? Because if you charge £75 an hour, but your techs only recover 70% of their time, your real rate might be closer to £52 per hour. Where is productivity being lost in your garage? Are you also buying parts at the best possible prices? A 5% saving on parts can be worth more than a 10% price rise in labor. Are you actually controlling your consumables? Brake cleaner, gloves, rags, they all add up. Doing better forces you to ask, where is the money leaking out of the business? Cutting those leaks is pure profit. No extra cars, no extra hours, no extra staff, just more dropping to the bottom line. Can you find where you can do better? And the third thing comes what I call the sweet spot. This is where you combine doing more with doing it better. And this is where you get more output from the same input. It's more about efficiency and productivity. Imagine two garages operating next door to each other. They both have 3 ramps, 3 techs, and the same hourly rate. But one books in jobs tightly, manages parts arrival, uses systems that eliminate downtime. The other is always waiting for parts, losing time to callbacks, and always chasing paperwork. The first garage will make more profit with exactly the same resources. That's doing more better. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. These small gains add up. A 10% improvement in first-time fixes, a 5% increase in the parts to labour mix, cutting 15 minutes wasted on every job. That's optimization, and it's where the magic happens, not by accident, but by systemization. Now, you notice what we haven't talked about yet. We haven't talked about hiring more staff, adding new services, or even opening a second site, because those are what I call additional. And too many garages rush there before they fix their foundations. They take on more debt, more staff, more stress, but they haven't optimized what they already have. In my experience, adding something additional, a new member of staff, or a new service, nearly always reduces productivity, efficiency, turnover, and obviously profit. The very things you want to improve. It can be by as much as 20%, because you move your focus away from what was working onto that new thing. The classic lady in the red dress. So always remember the sequence. More, better, then additional. It's what I call the Atomic Success MBA. And here's a cheat. Do more, better to compound the effect. So here's some practical examples that from garages that will be probably just like yours. So the first example I want to give you is the labour mix example. And a garage was running at a parts to labour mix of 30% parts and 70% labour. What do I mean by it? Well, there's a training topic on it if you search it out. But basically what we're talking about is the amount of turnover as a percentage that comes from your parts or comes from your labour. Now, this garage was obviously selling more labour in terms of its turnover than parts. And by changing suppliers and moving to only offering tier 1 or OEM parts options, they shifted closer to a 50-50 split. Simple change added £2,000 per month profit with no extra work. They were doing the same sort of work, the same amount of work. They were just selling better parts, more expensive parts. In fact, that change increased right first-time part supply because it's being ordered up the VIN number from the manufacturers, which reduced wasted ramp time, increased productivity, and therefore the labour recovery rate. Doing better often compounds, and compounding is the 8th wonder of the world, according to Albert Einstein. And who am I to argue with him? So let's take an efficiency example, where another garage introduced a 10-minute handover at the start of each day. The jobs were allocated, all the parts were checked, all the special tools were made ready. What they found was they cut wasted ramp time by 30 minutes per tech per day. That's not per job, that's over the entire day. But what they did at the beginning of every day, they made sure all their ducks were in a row. Saved them 30 minutes per tech per day. For a typical garage with 3 techs, that results in 300 more hours sold every year. That's £22,500 of extra labour straight on the bottom line. If you add the part split at 33% margin, that's another £11,200 worth of profit. If you compound those together, that's £33,750 of pure profit just by working smarter. So let's look at a cost reduction example. So a small workshop that I've worked with has renegotiated their waste oil collection and their energy contracts. Simple, boring stuff. But it saved them around about £500 a month. That's £6,000 a year without lifting a spanner. If you're too busy fixing cars to shop around, well, you need to do another 10 MOTs to make that kind of money. When was the last time you changed your energy suppliers, your insurance company, or even your internet supplier? This is low-hanging fruit, but very, very few garages are shopping around for the best deals. They are too busy working in the business to work on the business. So remember, doing more improves cash flow. Doing better increases profit. Doing more, better, requires order. And order means control. And at the end of the day, every garage owner wants control. They want control of their time, they want control of their money, and they want the control of their future. But if they don't build systems and processes required, they continue to exist in chaos. So what's the atomic action for this week? Find opportunities to do more of what you already do really well. If you're already constrained in the work that you do really well, find out how to do that work better. Then you will do more of that work better. Build on the systems and processes to create order and control before you think about adding anything additional, new staff or new services. Optimize what you're already doing before you do something new. And remember, if you should, you must. And what's probably stopping you is start. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.